Hold on,
I'm sorry? Which way is it? It's good. I don't know. Everything.
I'm the kind of that.
You tell me what you did and I'll tell you how offensive it is.
All right. All right, we'll say. We've got a hot mic. Let's begin. All right, we'll say. So with today's daf is daf ches. We're going to pick up actually at the Mishnah on daf ches, about 10, 12 lines down from the top. Our shir this month is sponsored by Paul and Kathy Pollack, Mary of Solom Floret Pollack, Sarah Bas Avram, Shmuel Ben Zechariah. May their neshamas have an aliyah and the family in Nechama. Thank you for the sponsorship.
That's only where we ended. We finished like 5 lines up.
5 lines up at the bottom. Okay, we'll start from the Mishnah, and I'll just record the rest afterwards. I still owe you 2 recordings in your session. Say something on Aleph?
It would be helpful for me.
Okay. This is not remedial daf yoga, right? So let's begin. We'll begin at the Mishnah. And Meretz Hashem. You stopped at the 2 dots on the bottom.
No, not even. About 5 or 6 lines up. Just for us. Just for us, right?
Okay.
4 lines up from the bottom.
Okay. Fine. All right. The Meretz Hashem. I'll go back and I'll record that piece for you guys. Fine. So let's begin from Mishnah. The bottom line of that whole sugi is it's usher. That's bottom line. You don't take home messages. You can't, don't think about doing it. Don't actually do it. And if you did it, feel bad about having done it. That's the take home. So it says the Mishnah. Well, so let's begin. Ein based in Chesamud Aleph 8a the Mishnah. Ein based in Chayovin at Shioru b'davar shes dono kares. We'll say we're now delving still more into some of the technicalities regarding under what circumstances is par ha'elam davar min hatzibur brought. So what we're beginning to see is that even you could have a situation where Beis Din has delivered an erroneous ruling, but lav dafka that they're going to bring the par ha'elam davar min hatzibur because of that particular type of transgression. So therefore, the Mishnah says over here, Beis Din only brings the par ad shiyoru b'davar until they make a mistake regarding a matter shezdono kares, whose intentional violation would be a chi of kares, b'shigagaso chatos, and a shogig violation ultimately again would have been a chatos. So we'll say generally those 2 things go hand in hand. Anything, usually something for which intentional violation would be a chi of kares. Generally, unintentional violation, you incurs a chi of chatos. So therefore, the Gemara is saying over here, only if Beis Din goes ahead and rules regarding something whose intentional violation would have been a chi of kares, and unintentional violation would have been a chi of chatos, and again, then the rest of the criteria kicks in. And then again, the majority of the tzibor goes in and follows that psak of Beis Din, so on and so forth. Then they bring a par ha'elam davar min hatzibor. Bechina Mashiach. We'll say so too again, the koina Mashiach, which was the sugya that we began in yesterday's daf. So too, if the Kohen Mashiach goes ahead and puts in, and thank you, an invertent ruling. Similarly, again, even when it comes to, so we'll say whatever the halacha is true, remember the Kohen Mashiach, we'll say, is a little bit of a different case. That's talking about where he himself went ahead and violated one of these types of averos, a special carbon he has to bring. Similarly, again, even if Beis Din goes ahead and makes a psak halacha, when it comes to avodas kochavim, when it comes to idolatry, they're only chayiv if they go ahead and deliver an erroneous ruling whose intentional violation would have been a chi of kares and unintentional violation would have been a chi of chatos. Good. Says the Gemara. We'll see, where do we know that from? This time, Rabbi Omer, Ne'amar Khan. So we'll say the Gemara over here makes a gzir shava. It says over here, V'noda hachatos asher chatu aleha, the krivu akal par ben bakar. It says over here, by the sugya, by the pasuk of par ha'elam davar min hatzibur. It says over here aleha, v'ne'emar lahalon aleha, and it says over there aleha as well. Ma lahalon davar shezdoro kares shigagaso chadas. So we'll say the second pasuk that the Gemara is quoting is actually interesting. It says v'isha el achosa lo sikach litzra legalos ervasala b'chayeha. Torah gives me the prohibition of Horayos, specifically the prohibition to marry sisters. So the Torah uses the lashon of aleha by par ha'elam davar min hatzibur. It uses the lashon of aleha by Horayos, and it teaches me as follows: Ma lahalon davar shezdono kares shigagaso chatos. Both say just like by Horayos, man marries his wife's sister. So again, intentional violation of that is kares. unintentional violation is a chatos. Afkan, so too by par ha'elam davar min hatzibor, davar shezadono kares is shiga gaso chatos. So to us, par ha'elam davar min hatzibor, you only bring it of what? If Beis Din rules erroneously regarding something whose intentional violation would have been a chi of chatos, and unintentional violation would be, intentional violation would have been a chi of kares, unintentional violation would have been a chi of chatos. Ashkechan Sibor. So we'll say, now I understand this halacha as it applies to a par ha'elam davar min hatzibor, to collective responsibility. Mashiach minalan. How do we know that this applies to the par of the coin Mashiach as well? To which the Gemara says, La ashmas ha'am. Because the pasuk I will say says, when speaking about the coin HaMashiach, says La ashmas ha'am. Hari Mashiach ketzibor. Ultimately, it teaches me that the din of the coin Mashiach is like what? Is like the din of the tzibor. Yossi, Nossi, soon again, we'll say, how do I learn about the Melech? So Yolif mitzvos. Ksiv hacha, ksiv gabi Nossi, va'asa achas mikol mitzvos Hashem. It says about by the Nasi, by the Melech, if you will unintentionally violate one of the mitzvos Hashem, ksiv tzibor, va'asu achas mikol mitzvos. Mat tzibor, davar shezadono kares, shiga gaso chatos. It's just like by the tzibor, as we've established, the par ha'elam davar min hatzibor is only applicable when the Beis Din rules regarding something whose intentional violation would be a chi of kares, and unintentional violation would be a chi of chatos. So too afnasi davar shezadono kares shiga gaso chatos yachid. So the Gemara says, what about a carbon yachid? What about an individual ultimately again who violates? Amakra v'im nefesh v'yilmo tachton me'elyon. Now we'll say, if you look at Rashi, actually Rashi is almost right across. Actually, it is right across in the right hand column. Yachid nami eino mevi chatos elo al davar shezadono kares disnan kol mitzvah shebatorah. So we'll say, interesting. The Gemara says, and by the way, all of these halachos that apply to par ha'elam davar min hatzibor, the special par of the kohen Mashiach and the special carbon of the king, is the same halachos by a yachid. We'll say a yachid, an individual, only brings a carbon chatos if he made a mistake, if he inadvertently committed an avera, whose intentional violation would be a chi of kares. So if you did something unintentionally, where had you done it intentionally to be a chi of kares, then you bring a carbon chatas. So we'll say, interestingly enough, it turns out that kind of everyone shares the same halacha. The par ha'elam davar min hatzibor, the par of the kohen Mashiach, the special carbon of the king, and the chatas of the yachid are all of them are only brought in the same circumstances. Namely, that halacha l'maisa, you did something which, had you done it intentionally, would have been a chi of kares, and now when you do it unintentionally, again, everybody brings their respective karbanos. Incredible. And again, the Mishnah said that the Beis Din is only chayiv a par ha'elam davar min hatzibor if what? If they go ahead and they paskin regarding avodah zara for something that, had they done it intentionally, would be a chi of kares, then unintentionally chi of chatos. So avodos chaminal. How do we know this about avodah zara? The Tan Rabbanan, the Fishiat avodos kochavim midon ba'atzma. So I want to say, interestingly enough, so avodah zara is singled out amongst the different prohibitions in the Torah. If you look at Rashi, again, it's Rashi right across in the right hand column. The Fishiat avodos kochavim tahacha ksiv b'chisishku v'lo ksa'asu v'lo ksiv hacha kares. So we'll say, so we're going to see this for just a moment in the Gemara, but avodas kochavim is singled out to be judged in a singular fashion. I might have thought that because avodah zara is singled out and treated in such a severe fashion, that maybe Beis Din is chayiv for a par ha'elam davar min hatzibor, even if what I will say, even if they paskind that you could do something that, had you done it intentionally, would not be a chi of kares. So what's an example of something by avodah zara that's asr but not a chi of kares? Right. So the simplest example was, remember again, early in our avodah zara days, Beis Din paskins that you're allowed to say how beautiful the avodah zara is. That's an Isser D'Oraisa. So remember again, one of the interpretations of Lo Sechanim, you can't go ahead and say how beautiful avodah zara is. So Beis Din paskin, you could go ahead and extol the beauty of avodah zara. Okay, it's asr but it's not a chi of kares. So I might have thought that because avodah zara is singled out, maybe it's treated in a more chamerdika fashion, and therefore even a Beis Din paskin regarding so it's not about a chi of kares, that it should still be usher. Ne'emar kan me'enei, v'ne'emar lahalon me'enei. Ma'alahalon. So we'll say the Gemara says, it says over here by par ha'elam davar min hatzibor me'enei. right? Ultimately, again, it says over here, actually, the truth is this pasuk that is quoting over here is Asher Nasi Yechta. Is quoting over here. I'm sorry. No. This is the pasuk. It says over here, Eine. V'nemar lahalon Eine. And we'll say it says ultimately again by Mkol Das Yisrael Yishku V'nelam Davar Me'ini Akal. Just like over there by the paradigmatic case of Parallel Government Tzibor, we're talking about a situation where again it's something where had you done it intentionally, Chiyav Karis unintentionally Chatos, Afkan so too by Avodah Zarah, Davar says a Donor Karis Shiga Gaso Chatos. So what's again is Gzeir Shava ultimately between Avodah Zarah and Parallel Government Tzibor. Just like by Parallel Government Tzibor, you only chayiv if what? If the Beis Din paskins regarding something whose intentional violation would have been a chiyuv kares, unintentional violation a chiyuv chatos, so too in Beis Din paskins regarding avodah zarah, they're also only chayiv if they permit something which had it been done intentionally be a chiyuv kares, unintentionally a chiyuv chatos. Ashkechon tzibor. I only know as this applies to the tzibor. Yochid nasi mashiach minolon. We'll say ultimately again how you know that applies to an individual. Nasi is the king. The Mashiach Rabosai is the coin Mashiach. How do you know that applies to them as well? Amakra then nefesh achos. So the pasuk says in nefesh achos echad yochid echad nasi ve'echad Mashiach kulan bichlal nefesh achos hein. They are all included in that phrase nefesh achos. Ve'yimod tachton min ha'elyon. Hanicha lemad demapik lei. So I'll say all of this makes sense if you go and you subscribe to the Gzeir Shava of Allah, as we said before. So I'll say the Rabbanon, however, use the Gzeir Shava of Allah to teach me a separate halacha. What's the halacha? I'll say if you look at the last Rashi on the right-hand side column, Allah the Rabbanon, the mafki lahai Allah l'drasha achrina. The rabbis use Allah for a different drasha. Kidamina parakam divamis v'isha alachosa Allah. Ma'atam ulomar l'fishnemar ivam avodas. We'll say the Rabbanon ultimately again use the lashon of Allah to go ahead and teach the other halachos regarding co-wives and yibum. So where do they learn out? Davar shezedono kares shigagaso chatas minalu. Where do they learn out to both say that halacha l'maisa they only chayv a carbon if the Beis Din goes ahead and issues an erroneous ruling with something whose intentional violation would have been kares, unintentional chatos, to which the Gemara says nafkalahu medemastila Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi lebrei. So we'll say they learn out from the following teacher Rabbi Shmuel ben Levi. Torah we'll say first wide line chesam dalef. Torah achos yalachem laoseb bishkaga. Pasuk says there will be one Torah, one halacha for those who go ahead and commit yavera bishkaga. Nefesh asher ta'asa biyadra huksha kol Torah kula la'avodas kochav. So we'll say the Torah equates all other halachos with avodah zarah. Ma avodas kochavim shechayaven al zadona kares al shigaso chatos. We'll say just when it comes to avodas kochavim, if you go ahead and the only time you're chayav was, in other words, the only time the tzibor kohen Mashiach nasi and yachid are chayiv is if ultimately again they issued an erroneous ruling regarding something whose intentional violation was the chiyuv kares and unintentional violation was the chiyuv chatos. So, excuse me. So the Gemara says, "Ma'avodas cham shechayaven al zadona kares ashigaso chatos afkan." So too in all other cases as well, shechayaven al zadona kares ashigaso chatos. Ashkechon yachid. So we'll say this teaches me the liability regarding the individual. Nasi umashiach bein ba'avodas kachavim bein b'sham mitzvos. Sorry. Let me say that again. So Ashkechon Yachid, Nasi Mashiach, Bein Ba'avodas Kochavim, Bein B'Sham Mitzvos. So we'll say now I've established this halacha as it applies to the Yachid, the Nasi, and the Mashiach, both in terms of Avodas Kochavim as well as by other mitzvos. Tzibor Minalan. How do I know that this distinction also applies with Tzibor? Namely, that a par halam davar minat Tzibor only applies where? In a case where the Beis Din gave an erroneous ruling regarding something. Again, I know I keep saying the same phrase over and over again, where again the intentional violation would have been a chiyuv kares, unintentional violation would have been a chiyuv chatos, yalef elyon mitachton. So we'll say essentially again, we learn out the earlier section, I should say yalef elyon mitachton, we learn out the earlier pasuk from the later pasuk, from the Gzeir Shava as mentioned before. The Rebbe, Had Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi my avele. So we'll say, what does Rebbe do with the limit of Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi? Because remember again, he doesn't need it because he has the Gzer Shava of Aleha. So ma'pikli lichidisanya. He uses it to teach me the following halacha. Lafish shematzinu shechalak hakasav ben rabim liyechidim. We see ultimately that what? We see that the pasuk makes a distinction between the rabbin and the yechidim, between collective guilt when the avera is committed by a rabbin and yachid. So now, what is this referring to? So this is talking about an irani dachos. The Torah makes a distinction of also between avodah zarah worshipped by a collective versus avodah zarah worshipped by individuals. How so? Rabbin b'sayif umamonim avid. We'll say if the rabbin, which is an irani dachos, an entire city worships idolatry. So we'll say what happens? They are killed beside with the sword, and what happens to their property? Their property is destroyed. Look at Rashi just a moment ago. This is in the left-hand column in Rashi, about halfway into the short lines. Rabbin b'sayif, right across on the Mishnah on top. B'mezid, anshi irani dachos. So we'll say again, if the people of a city intentionally worship avodah zarah, so they are killed and their property is destroyed. Yet the Gemara says yechidim beskila umamonam palat. Yet I will say, interestingly enough, if individuals worship idolatry, then what? They are killed with skila, and their money is spared. Their property is not destroyed. So we'll say an interesting distinction here. So again, if the collective worships idolatry, so they are killed. They are killed, and their money is destroyed. Yechidim ultimately again skila umamonam palat. Yachal nechlak b'karbanosayim. So you might have thought that what? That their kabbanos should be distinct as well. Talmud Lomer Torah Achasiya. Therefore, the pasuk teaches me that what? That halacha lemaisa they go ahead and then bring this in card. Look at Rashi. Talmud Lomer Torah Achas. Dirani dachas the shogig ki yechidim damu umaisi kochad vechad sira ki yachid. Rabbi says what it teaches me is as follows: that even if you have a situation of an irani dachas b'shogig, which is an interesting case of an entire city worships avodah zarah b'shogig, they thought it was permitted. Their responsibility, I will say, is no different than what? Than an individual who goes out and worships idolatry b'shogeg, which is they bring a seer. They bring one seer. Fine, maskef Rabbi Chilkiah me'agronya taimad lo chalak hakasav. The reason that it's true they have one halacha is because Torah does not distinguish between them. Ha chalak, but have the Torah made a distinction? Hava mina nachlok. So the Gemara says, see, interestingly enough, the reason why, so also what the Gemara is saying is as follows, that even though when you have intentional worship of idolatry, a city is treated different than an individual. So if a city worships idolatry, you're in Idachas intentionally, so the city is killed beside with the sword and their property is destroyed. If an individual intentionally worships avodah zarah, then what's the halacha? He's killed with a sword. He's killed with skila, right? And ultimately his property is spared. See, even though when they worshipped intentionally, they are reckoned separately. When they worship unintentionally, they have the same halacha. Namely, they both bring the same carbon of the seir. So Gemara says the reason for that is because Torah doesn't distinguish between them. Ha chalak, but had the psukim made some type of distinction between them. Ha ba'amina nachlok. I might have thought they have different carbonic liability. Well, how could that be? My naisi. What should they bring? Naisi par. If you want to say ultimately again that they should bring a par. Tzibor. B'shar mitzvah sudamaisi. Naisi. So the Gemara says, Tzibor b'shar mitzvah sudamaisi. Suppose that they can be because the tzibor is already bringing a par by the inadvertent commission of other averos. Naisi par the olo sir lechatos. Maybe you would have thought that ultimately again therefore they should bring a par for an olo and a sir for a chatos. Sibar ba'avodas kochavim udamaisu. Ultimately, again, the Sibar is already bringing that for avodas kochavim. Naisi seer. So you say they should bring a seer. Nasi b'shar mitzvos udamaisi. The Nasi is already bringing a seer for other averos. Naisi seira yochin nami hainu kabano. So the Gemara says, Itzrich sakadait chamina sibor maisi par liola useer lechatos. I might have thought as follows: that maybe the Sibar brings a par for an ola, seer for a chatos. Hani naisi ipcha. Maybe again the people who worship avodah zarah should bring just the opposite. Par lechatos useir laola. Inami sarich ve'ein lo takano. Or maybe the other possibility is they need a carbon, but there's no way to remedy it. Therefore, kamash malon says it's not halacha. So it's like kamash. What? Just to make a very long story short, kamash malon. That the bottom line halacha is that when there is inadvertent worship of idolatry, be it by an individual or by a collective, not the punishment, but the remedy is the same. Namely, everybody brings a seer. everybody brings a singular seir as the kapara for that idolatrous worship. So we'll say, so just the takeaway from this, the bottom line halacha l'maisa is when there is intentional worship of idolatry, then the Yachid and the Rabbim are reckoned separately. The Rabbim are going to be killed with Sayif and their property is destroyed. The Yachid is killed with Skila and his property is spared. However, again, when there is inadvertent idolatry, so both the Rabbim, Iranidachas, as well as the Yachid are reckoned the same way. Everybody brings the same karban, the seir, for inadvertent worship of idolatry. Good. So we'll say, let's go back there. The Choli Amma, Mias Kik Sivi, Hani Krai Babalas Chabin Sivi. And here's what's interesting. Now, what's interesting is as follows: these psukim that we're quoting over here are written by idolatry. So the Gemara says, "My mashma." How do I know that ultimately, again, it's a reference to idolatry? Amar Rabbi Vitim Rabbi Yosha ben Levi va'amri le'kidi. We'll say kidi is a person. Amar Kra, the pasuk says, quoting over here, the pasuk in Bamidbar, v'chisishku v'lo sa'asu es kol hamitzvos ha'ileh asher diber Hashem el Moshe. So we'll say, so the pasuk says as follows: v'chisishku v'lo sa'asu. If you will go ahead and sishku, you'll go and you'll make a mistake, and you will not perform one of the mitzvahs that HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to Moshe. So we'll say, so now again, the Gemara, we darshan this pasuk earlier, and the Gemara already presupposed that it was referring to idolatry. Then, if you'll notice again, what's the intriguing part about this pasuk? I will say is that it makes no reference to what? To idolatry, right? So is correct, meaning that's drosa, but I'm saying it makes no reference. We've been accepting it as Vedic completely that's referring to idolatry. It makes no reference to idolatry. So the Gemara just asks, how do you know that it's referring to Avodah Zarah? To which the Gemara says, I'll tell you how. Ezuhi mitzvah shishkula kechala mitzvah. So we'll say, what is the mitzvah? What it really means over here is what's the avera, right? But what's the mitzvah that is comparable to all other mitzvahs? Avi omer avodas kochavim. We'll say it would be idolatry. Now, what does that mean? What it means is, what is the avera which is just as severe as all of the other averos put together? And I will say the answer to that is avodah zarah. Look at Rashi. Which also, because remember again, if you subscribe to idolatry, it's as if what? It's as if what? It's as if you've been kofar. It's as if you have negated your belief in the rest of the Torah. I don't know, say that a person could eat tarfus and still be a ma'amin b'Hashem. A person could wear shatnez and still be a ma'amin b'Hashem. Avodah zarah, by definition, negates belief in the Ribono Shel Olam. So therefore, again, the Gemara understands it over here. What was the pasuk? I'm sorry. If you will go out and you will make a mistake and you will not perform all of the mitzvos. So what's the avera, which essentially is tantamount to the performance of all other averos? Avodah zarah. So the Gemara says, Debei Rabbi Tana, Amar Kra Asher Dibra Hashem al Moshe. Pasuk says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu spoke to Moshe. Ksiv Asher Tziva Hashem al Aleichem Biad Moshe. Ezui mitzvah also is actually very interesting. So on one hand, the pasuk says Asher Dibra Hashem el Moshe, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to Moshe, Uksiv Asher Tziva Hashem Aleichem Biad Moshe. So we'll say the first pasuk seems to indicate there's a halacha that HaKadosh Baruch Hu transmitted to Moshe, and the second pasuk seems to indicate that HaKadosh Baruch Hu communicated it directly to us, Biyad Moshe, in the hand of Moshe. So, Ezuhi mitzvah shikitiburo shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu v'tziva al yedei Moshe. We'll say, what was the one mitzvah where the Ribono Shel Olam spoke to us, v'dirush HaKadosh Baruch Hu, b'yat v'tziva al yedei Moshe. Yet Moshe Rabbeinu was empowered, Moshe was charged with explaining that halacha. Havi omer ze'avodas kochavim. This Tana Debei Rabbi Shmuel Anochi v'lo yeh lecha mipi gvura shamanu. Because we'll say, interestingly enough, Anochi Hashem Elokecha, I am Hashem your God, and lo yeh lecha Elohim achayrim. Do not have any other gods. The first two dibros were given to us by HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself, but yet what? Moshe Rabbeinu was charged with explaining them. That's the last Rashi on the daf. The Anochi v'lo yeh lecha mipi gvura shamanu. Dainu sheshamum b'dibur shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'tziva al yidei Moshe become a parasha shebetorah. Kigon lo tishtachave el acher t'loshana v'hi Moshe. So we'll say each of this is reconciliation of two psukim. What's the one mitzvah where God spoke to us directly? Yet Moshe Rabbeinu was charged with filling in the details and explaining the halachas to us. Avodah zarah. We heard the prohibition directly from HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself. but yet again Moshe Rabbeinu was charged ultimately again with explaining these halachos as they apply. To be Rabbi Shmuel Tanam, so the Yeshiva Rabbi Shmuel taught the following halacha. Pasuk says, "Lemin hayom asher tziva Hashem b'halu doroseichem." So literally, again, the pasuk says, "From this day that God commanded you forward for all generations." Says the Gemara, "Ezuhi mitzvah shene'emar b'tchila." So what is the mitzvah? We'll say ultimately again that was quote unquote said at the beginning, but yet again it was explained throughout the generations. Look at Rashi for just a moment. Lemin hayom hachi mashma is kol asher tziva Hashem aleichem b'yad Moshe. Thezu avodos kochavim. Uminayin shezu avodos kochavim. Dichsev behedja lemin hayom asher tziva Hashem b'hala. Shar mitzvos v'hala klor mikan be'elech l'doroseichem. So which is the mitzvah Rabosai, which was said in the beginning and then perpetuated through generations? Ezu mitzvah shinemra b'tchila. Havi omer zev avodos kochavim. So what was the mitzvah that was said b'tchila? One of the first mitzvahs. So Rabosai again. Anochi Hashem Elokecha and lo yeh l'chai Elohim achim are really sister mitzvos. One is the positive statement of theology, belief in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and what? The second is the prohibition, don't have other gods. But yet again, we learned that Klal Yisrael was given 10 mitzvos in Mara. So we'll say, so here's what's interesting. The Gemara is darshaning that Avodah Zarah is one of the first mitzvos we received. Here's the pattern of says that what? It's not true, right? We know that the prohibition of Avodah Zarah was given to us at Har Sinai. Now the truth is, it's not really totally true, because remember the prohibition of Avodah Zarah is already part of what? Already part of Sheva Mitzvos B'nai Noach, which was already commanded to us much earlier on. But as a formal tzivoy to Klal Yisrael was not given until Matan Torah, and yet again we were already commanded 10 mitzvos in Mara. Therefore, the Gemara says, "Ella mechavarta kiddushanin and meikara." Rather, the Gemara says, you know what? We're better off going with the drasha of Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, or like Rabbi, like we saw earlier, who darshan the psukim of Avodah Zarah a little bit differently. Good. Let's see now we go back there. So just you should know the takeaway from that Mishnah is pretty much as the halacha is espoused in the Mishnah, that for par ha'elam davar minat tzibor, so the tzibor is only chayiv, or I should say differently, whoever you paskin like, there is only a par ha'elam davar minat tzibor, whoever's bringing that par, whether it's based in or it's kalis, whoever's bringing it, but the carbon is only applicable in Rabosai when based in delivered an erroneous ruling regarding something whose intentional violation would have been a chi of kares, and unintentional violation would be a chi of chatos. Only under those circumstances, ultimately, again, is a par ha'elam davar minat tzibor brought. Says the Gemara. Says the Mishnah. Ein chayavin al asay va'alos asay sheva mikdash. So we'll say another very interesting halacha here. Another very interesting halacha. Ein chayavin al asay va'alos asay sheva mikdash. So we'll say, what's this case over here? So based in, to make I'll read the Rashi in just a moment, but essentially the Gemara is saying is as follows. Asay and los asay sheva mikdash means, let's say based in erroneously paskins regarding a matter of tumah in the Beis Hamikdash. So we know again, to make a very long story short, if somebody's tamei, they can't enter into the Beis Hamikdash, or they can't partake of certain sacrificial items. Let's say Beis Din's erroneous ruling is regarding entry into the Beis Hamikdash in a state of tumah. Look at Rashi just a moment. Ein Beis Din chayiv carbon ala seva alos asay sheva mikdash. Rashi says, Hainu tumas mikdash v'kadashav. We'll say this is referring to Beis Din erroneously rules regarding ritual purity and impurity vis-a-vis entry into the Beis Hamikdash or consumption of sacrificial items. Asay sheba mikdash v'yishachol min ha'machane kol tzarua lo saseh v'lo yitamos machaneim. Sha'af api. So we'll say, so the novelty over here is as follows. Simple case. Beis Din paskin that a metzora could come into the Beis Hamikdash. Keep it simple. So we'll say, so let's say again, the majority of Klal Yisrael Mitzrayim, they enter into the Beis Hamikdash. Beis Din doesn't bring a par ha'elam davar minat tzibor for this. Why not? Afapish, I'm reading Rashi. Shuzadono kares v'shigaso chatas hoil ve'in shigaso bechatas kavua ela karban chatas olev yored hilchach patul legamrei kidma farish b'gemara. So we'll see this is actually very interesting. As we're going to see, the only time that Beis Din is chayiv a par ha'elam davar minat tzibor says when they pass him regarding something whose intentional violation is a chi of kares, An unintentional violation is what we call a chatas kavua. What does chatas kavua mean? It is an established chatas, as opposed to a carbon ola v'yored. What's a carbon ola v'yored? The value of what you have to bring depends on what? Your financial circumstances. Right? The wealthy person brings one type of carbon, a poor person brings another type of carbon. So for that type of situation, even though again this is a case of where intentional violation is a chiyuv kares, and unintentional violation is a chiyuv chatos, now we're qualifying that. Parallel and David Tzibur only comes about when it's a chiyuv chatos, what we call a chatos kavua. But if it's an ola v'yored, no parallel and David Tzibur. Back to the Mishnah. Se'ein chayavin ala aseh va'alo saseh shebamikdash ve'ein leviin asham talui al aseh va'alo saseh shebamikdash. Furthermore, again, I will say individuals will not bring in asham talui. I'll say asham talui is a carbon that is brought when a person is not sure if they have violated an avera that may be a kares bearing prohibition or not. So you do not bring in an asham talui. Allah say va'alos aseh shemikdash. So we'll say aseh and los aseh shemikdash. We'll say means that again a person may have entered into the Beis Hamikdash in a state of purity. Look at Rashi for just a moment. Again, Rashi says in mevin yichidin asham talui ala aseh va'alos aseh shemikdash de'in asham talui ba ela asafek chatas kavua. We'll say it's the same idea. Asham talui only is brought when intentional violation would have resulted in a definitive chatos. But in a case like this, where even intentional violation only results in what? Only results in an asham talui. So an individual would not go ahead and, in a carbon ola v'yored. So an individual would not bring an asham talui in this case. So I will say, so again, let me just say this to you once more. We're talking over here regarding entry into the Beis Hamikdash in a state of tumah. This is a halacha that under normal circumstances, if you do it intentionally, what's the punishment? Kares. If you do it unintentionally, what's the punishment? Chatos. But the chatos that's brought to us in this kind of circumstance is what kind of chatos? What we call a carbon ola v'yored. What the Mishnah is teaching Rabbi is as follows. Par ha'elam davar min hatzibur only applies in a case where the chatos is what's called a chatos kavua, a set chatos. But if the chatos is a carbon ola v'yored like it is over here, then halacha l'maisa there is no par ha'elam davar min hatzibur. Therefore, if Beis Din were to put up psak halacha, it is permitted to enter into the Beis Hamikdash if you are a mitzora, which again is a chiyuv kares intentionally. Unintentional violation is a chiyuv chatas. There is no par ha'elam davar min hatzibur. Why? Because this chatas over here is a chatas ola v'yored, and therefore because it's not a kavua, therefore no par ha'elam davar min hatzibur. Similarly, if an individual were to go ahead and enter into the Beis Hamikdash in a state of tumah, bless you, intentionally, there would be a chiyuv kares. Normally, again, let's say we'll say, I'm not sure if I entered into the Beis Hamikdash in a state of tumah or not. So we'll say, what do you bring? What kind of carbon do you bring in any situation where you did something unintentionally? That if you did it intentionally, it would be a chiyuv kares. You bring what? You bring an asham talui. You don't bring an asham talui in this case either. Why? Because asham talui is only brought in a case where intentional violation would be a chatas kavua. Because this is not a chatas kavua, but a carbon ola v'yored, so too the individual does not bring a chatas as well. Or, excuse me, the individual does not bring an asham talui as well. So Gemara says, "Aval chayavin ala seva lo saseh shebenida." They will say Beis Din paskins regarding a matter of nida and aseh or lo saseh shebenida, and they permitted something that was prohibited. So they would bring a carbon ola v'yored in that case. Umaviyim asham talui ala seva lo saseh shebenida. We'll say similarly, if an individual went ahead and potentially violated an Isser Nida, so he would bring in Asham Talui. But remember again, Asham Talui is only brought in a circumstance where I'm not sure if I violated something. I may have violated something, and so I bring in Asham Talui. Ezo hi mitzvahs aseh shebenida. I will say, what's the case of where Beis Din paskins regarding a prohibition of Nida? So Parish min Nida. So we'll say, let's say, for example, again, Beis Din said, Rashi says, Parish min Nida kolomar samoch levesta kedei shelo teira b'shas tashmish. Well, it's actually very interesting. Let's say Beis Din says, Rabbi said, there's a whole concept of vestos, derabana, vestos, daraisa. So, is there a biblical obligation to separate from one's wife before the time that she becomes a nida? So we'll say, obviously, when she's a nida, it's not a shayla. What about, again, the time right before she becomes a nida? Is there a chiyuv to be poresh or not? So we'll say, let's assume over here, according for the purpose of this Mishnah, that there's an obligation to separate from one's wife biblically, even in the period before, even in the time frame before she becomes a nida, based in paskins erroneously, umitzas lo say al tavo al nida. Or I will say in the mitzvah lo says, let's say Beis Din goes ahead and permits a man to have relations with his wife when she's in nida. So we'll say, so these are circumstances where halacha l'maisa, again, if Beis Din paskin erroneously, there would be a par helam davar min hatzibor, and if the individual conducted himself erroneously, or suffix if he conducted himself erroneously, then what we'll say, he would bring an asham taloi. So we'll say, so again, what's coming out of this Mishnah is a sauce. We ask the Gemara, minahani mili. Did Sibor lo mechayvi carbon ba'alma the yachid asham taloi namila? So we'll say the Mishnah just espoused a very important principle, which is what? Which is that halacha l'maisa, if Beis Din paskin erroneously in a case where it's done intentionally, there is a chiyuv kares, but unintentionally, Rabosai, it is an carbon olav. It's a chatas, but it's a carbon olav. It's not what we call a chatas kavua. So the Mishnah told me that what? That there is no chiyuv carbon, there is no chiyuv par helam davar min hatzibor in that case. That's true for a tzibor. And if the yachid went ahead and may have violated that avera, he doesn't bring an asham taloi either. Where do we know this from? So the Gemara says, Amar Rabbi Yitzchak bar Avdimi ne'amar va'ashem. The pasuk says va'ashem. The pasuk says va'ashem bechatas u'ba'asham taloi v'ne'amar va'ashamo b'tzibor ma va'ashem biyachid bechatas kavua. Just like Rabbi said, the ashem, the liability by yachid, is only in the case of a chatas kavua, is only in a case ultimately again where Rabbi say the only time we bring an asham taloi is when halacha l'maisa, intentional or unintentional let me see differently. You only bring an asham taloi when the individual, had he known that he had definitively violated the prohibition unintentionally. I know that wasn't good English, right? So it's like, when do I bring an asham taloi? Only if an asham taloi will say is brought in a case of doubt. I'm not sure if I violated something. The only time you bring an asham taloi is in a situation where, had I definitively done the act b'shogeg, which meaning I know I did it, but I was unintentional, I would go ahead and bring a chatos. Right? So we'll say in that kind of case, where unintentional violation would result in a chatos, that's where that's where uncertain, doubtful, thank you, doubtful violation would generate an asham taloi. As the Gemara says, I know it's a mouthful. Yeah. So the Gemara says, so to say, ultimately, again, a parhal davar min hatzibor is also only in a case where, again, unintentional violation will be with a chatas kavua. Umat tzibor bechatas kavua. Rabbi say, just like the tzibor, there is only a parhal davar min hatzibor. Rabbi say, where unintentional violation would be a chatas kavua. Av asham taloi nami ein ba ela al safek chatas kavua amri. So Rabbi say, the only time you bring in asham taloi, remember again, asham taloi, Rabbi say, is brought in a situation where I'm not sure what I did. I may have or I may not have violated a particular avera. But said that is only brought for an infraction whose definitive, inadvertent violation would be a chiyuv chatas kavua. So the Gemara says, okay, if that's the case, carbon ola v'yoreit nami. So we'll say, what about a carbon ola v'yoreit? It also says haksiv v'haya kiyasham la'achas me'ela. We'll say, it seems to use the same verbiage there as well. Done in asham me'ashamo, then done in asham min ye'asham. We'll say, in order to go ahead and make the gzeir shava, we're darshin asham and ashamo, which is the same shoresh, but not asham from ye'asham. Or my nafkamina, but I don't understand it's the same words. Says the Gemara, my nafkamina, va'atani divi Rabbi Shmuel, b'shava kohen, uba kohen, zoe shiva, zoe bia. We'll say this again, shava kohen, uba kohen, we'll say, has nothing to do with our discussion, has to do with saras of the bayis. We'll say, what that shava kohen, uba kohen teaches me as follows. A gzeir shava need not be made with the same words. because the Torah makes the Gemara makes Gzir Shava of V'shah Koino Bak, and what's V'shah has to do with the unchanged nature of the tzaras on the home. So you see that even if you have words that are mamish not the same, but the contextually they are the same, you can make a Gzir Shava. V'od neilaf min va'ashem mitumas mikdash v'kadash v'chsev v'utami v'ashem. To which the Gemara says, Amar Papa, danin v'ashem u'mitzvahs Hashem min Hashem u'mitzvahs Hashem. So Papa says, this is not just making a Gzir Shava from a word, this is making a Gzir Shava from a phrase. It's Hashem u'mitzvahs Hashem from Hashem u'mitzvahs Hashem. Amar Rav Shimi bar Ashi the Rapapa, v'nelev v'Hashem u'nesias avon, min v'Hashem u'nesias avon. So we'll say, if that's the case, why not make a Gzir Shava between the phrase of Hashem and Nesias Avon to Hashem and Nesias Avon? El Amar Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak danin v'Hashem u'mitzvos Hashem asher lo se'asena v'Hashem u'mitzvos Hashem asher lo se'asena v'ayochiach, and don't bring a raya from the cases of Shmias Kol ubitui svasayim v'tumas mikdash v'kadash of shelo ne'amar bohen v'Hashem u'mitzvos Hashem asher lo se'asena. And the Bible says, do not bring a raya from the cases of Shmias Kol bitui svasayim v'tumas mikdash, which the Bible says is going to be the next Mishnah that we'll read in just a moment. Do not bring any raya from those cases where what? Because it does not say in those situations Hashem and mitzvos Hashem asher lo se'asena. So let's say, so bottom line, halacha, so what do we take from here? Again, we're going to explain those three cases in just a moment. What we take from Hosea is as follows. Another qualification when it comes to par helam davar min hatzibur. When do you bring par helam davar min hatzibur? We'll say only when? Only in a case where intentional violation would be a chiyuv kares, and unintentional violation would be what? A chiyuv chatos. But what kind of chatos? A chatos kavua. If the unintentional violation would be a chata shena kavua, as an example of chata shena kavua, carbon olev yored, then halach l'maisa again, there is no param davar tzibur. That is why, if Beis Din paskins and they make an erroneous ruling regarding tumas mikdash, they say someone who's a mitzora, someone who's tummy tumas meis, someone who's a zav can enter into the Beis HaMikdash, even though again they're pasking, they're permitting something which is again as a chiyuv kares, because the inadvertent violation only requires what? A carbon olev yored, which is a chatas, but a chata shena kavua. Therefore, there's no par helam davar min hatzibur. And Abba said the same halacha applies to a yachid. A yachid is only chayiv and asham talui, which means a chiyuv chatas for potential violation if the unintentional violation, right? Which Abba said means I know I did something, but I thought it was permitted. You're only chayiv and asham talui in that kind of case of what? If the unintentional violation would have been a chatas kavua. But if it would be a carbon olev yored, then there would be no asham talui in that circumstance as well. So let's begin the next Mishnah. Ein chayav al shmias kol va'bitoi svasayim va'tumas mikdash v'kadasha. So remember again, still par halom davar min hatzibur. So remember, tumas mikdash v'kadasha is the previous case that we just said before. Shmias kol rabosai is the case. We're going to further clarify this, but it's the case. Shmias kol rabosai is where they're just leaving aside Paham Davar Min Hatzibur, which is the moment. A person, I say to Ruvain, I know that you know Eidus for me, right? You know Eidus for me. And Ruvain swears that he does not know Eidus for me. And it turns out that what? That he's lying, that he does know Eidus for me. That's the case of Shmias Kol. Bitu Isasar means a false oath. So again, Beis Din is paskening in these kind of cases of Shmias Kol. Either they're saying again, if you know testimony for someone, you don't have to give it, you don't have to go ahead and give it to them, or Bitoy Sasayim, they allow me to swear falsely regarding something, or Tumas Mikdash V'Kadashav. But saying all of these cases, Haloch Lamais, again, there's no par helam davar min hatzibur. Look at Rashi. Why not? In Beis Din chayav al shmias kol v'abitoi sasayim al tumas mikdash v'kadashav dechol hani havyon b'karbon olev yored. Because we'll say these are also all examples of infractions where if done unintentionally, there is a chiyuv chatos, but the chiyuv chatos ultimately again is one of a carbon olev yored. So because of that, the halachos of par helam davar min hatzibur do not apply to them. V'hanasi kiyotzi b'am Rabbi Yossi. And we'll say in this case, the nasi, the king, the melech, has the same halachas as the Beis Din. Rabbi Kiva says, Hanasi chayiv b'kulan chutz mishmias kol. Rabbi Kiva says, no, a nasi, I will say, if he inadvertently violates any of these averos, will be chayiv for all of them, with one exception, I will say, which is the case of shmias kol, which I will say is the case ultimately again of giving testimony on behalf of another person. Why? Shamelech lo dan v'lo danin also, because I will say a king cannot judge, cannot be a judge, and cannot be judged. Lo meid v'lo meidin also. We'll say ultimately again, furthermore again, he cannot be a witness, and you can't give testimony against him. We'll say so. It's almost like a diplomatic immunity, meaning the king is above all. Which we'll see why that is. Says the Gemara, Amar Ula. My time to Rabbi Yosef Lili. What's Rabbi Yosef Lili's logic? So what Rabbi Yosef Lili says that in all of these cases, the nasi is just like the Beis. So what's his logic? Amakra va'ya ki yeshem la'achas me'ela. Whoever Rabbi say again has liability in one of these cases, has liability in all of these cases. And whoever does not have liability in one of these cases doesn't have liability in any of these cases. I don't understand why do you say that? Why do all three of these things, Rabbi say, have to be all or nothing? I understand there's a common denominator here, that all of them are subject to the carbon Ola V'Yored, but I'm not sure why their halachas have to be linked to one another. Elo, times Rabbi Yossi mi'acha. Rather, Rabbi Yossi's logic is as follows. Look at Rashi. Elo, times Rabbi Yossi elili mi'acha. So we'll say, I'm sorry, not yet. This Sanya. Hayir Rabbi Yirmiyah. Rabbi Yirmiyah says as follows. Ne'emar, it says, top of test. It says, lo sagia yado. V'ne'emar lo sasig yado. We'll say, it says as follows. The pasuk says, "Lo sagia yado deiseh ve'vias hashama shechata shtei torah shtei be'yonos." We'll say this is the pasuk ultimately again of carbon Ola V'Yored. Carbon Ola V'Yored. So it says "Lo sagia yado" and it says "Lo sasig yado." So listen to this: Mi sheba lidei anios v'ashiros. The both say who is subject to the laws of carbon Ola V'Yored? Who's subject to the laws of carbon Ola V'Yored? Only someone who is shaykh to the parsha of wealth and poverty. Only someone who has the ability to be on the spectrum, or only someone who could either be wealthy or poor. Yotza nasi umashiach she'in bo'in lidei anios. I will say a nasi, a king, and the Mashiach. Who's the Mashiach? He's the Kohen Gadol. Right? He's the Kohen Gadol. Neither of those individuals could ever be poor. Right? They are not shaykh to poverty. Why not? Nasi dichsiv. So we'll say, so first of all, again, when it comes to the king, so we'll say ultimately again, the pasuk says, he will go ahead and do one of the mitzvos from Hashem is God. We'll say this comes to exclude from the parasha of Ola V'Yored someone who only has God above him. We'll say, who is the person who only has God above him? No one else is above him. That's the Nasi. That's the king. V'kohen agadol me'echav, shugadol me'echav, b'noi, b'koach, b'chachma, u'ba'osher. We'll say, and furthermore it says, the Kohen who is greater than his brothers. He who is greater than his brothers, b'noi, in handsomeness, b'koach, in strength, b'chachma, wisdom, u'ba'osher, and wealth. Achirim omrim, Minayim Shem Ein Lo Gadleo Mishal Achiv. The Achirim will say, how do you know that even if the Kohanim is not, let's say he wasn't wealthier than his other Kohanim, how do we know that we make him wealthier? Talmud Lomar, V'Kohen Agadol Me'echav, Asher Yitzak Arosho, Gadlehu Me'echav. Which means what? Even if he is not wealthy on his own, then what? We make him wealthier than everyone else. Gadlehu Me'echav. Make him wealthier than everyone else. So we'll say, so bottom line what the Gemara says over here is as follows. How does Rabbi Yossi Aglili know that the Kohen Gadol, and the Melech are exempt from these circumstances of their specific part, their specific carbon, in situations where there's a carbon Ola V'Yored? Because Rabbi said the carbon Ola V'Yored only applies to someone whose station in life is that he could be poor or wealthy. It excludes people who what? Supposed to have no shaychus to poverty because of their position. Therefore, because the king and the Kohen Gadol have no shaychus to poverty, because meaning their position does not allow for poverty. Therefore, again, the unique karbanos that they bring in situations where they issue an erroneous ruling, Rabbosai, do not apply to circumstances of carbon olev yored. Why? Because again, they have no shaykhus to poverty. Therefore, Rabbi Yossi Aglili says the same way that the par helam daram minat tzibor does not apply to cases where there's not a chatas kabod, does not apply to a case where there's an olav yored. For example, kizav tumas mikdash v'kadasham. So to the unique karbanos of the Nasi and of the Kohen Gadol, they issue erroneous rulings, do not apply here as well. We'll pick up and hear Hashem. Pass someone out tomorrow.